Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May be recognized to sponsor the said measure.
Majority Leader is recognized as chair of the joint panel.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues in the Senate, the House of Representatives, ladies and gentlemen, what we have witnessed in the last national and local elections, for me, was one of the most credible, orderly, and peaceful in our elections history. Don't just take it from me, as this is reflected in the assessments of different media outfits, election watchdogs, and civil society organizations, including the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. Just more than 2 weeks after the May 9, 2022 elections, we are about to proclaim the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic. Quite fast indeed. The result of this election is historical in several ways. First, it has the highest number of votes cast in our nation's election history, with an 82% voter turnout, totaling 55,197,306 votes. Second, Mr. President, since the 1987 Constitution, this is the first time that we elected a majority president and vice president. A phenomenon indeed in a multi-party system under a presidential Republican government. The duly elected president garnered a total of 58.77% of the total votes cast in the last May 9, 2022 elections. And the duly elected vice president gathered a total of 61.53% of the total votes cast. And third, the canvassing of Congress in joint public session took only 2 days to finish. And I would like to take note that this canvassing is the fastest in our nation's history of elections. Another milestone for Philippine Congress. However, we would like to emphasize, we did not sacrifice transparency and the authenticity of the results for a speedy count. The process was hastened due to several factors. Early on in the canvassing of the Joint Committee, we appreciated the manifestation of the counsels of several presidential and vice presidential candidates. Notably, the counsel for the canvassing of all COCs brought before us in this body. The same manifestation was made of record by the counsel of Vice Presidential candidate Senator Kiko Pangilinan and Presidential candidate Mayor Isko Moreno. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a magnificent show of statesmanship on their part,
makasaysayan ang araw na ito sa bansang
shows
Pilipinas.
the importance of
Ito
uniting
po
as a
ang inyong
people
lingkod,
and
probinsyano
healing the
ini,
emotional wounds brought about by this very
nagko-cover po.
emotionally charged election.
Ito po ay kuha ng
The Joint
PTV4.
Committee consensuously examined the certificates
Ito
of canvass,
ay,
both the manually transmitted and the
isang
printed
makasaysayan
copy
sa
of the
ating bansa.
electronically transmitted COCs, and painstakingly determined their authenticity and due execution, as required by law and by our rules. The canvassing went on smoothly, except for some instances when the manually prepared certificates of canvass were not found in the ballot boxes submitted to us or submitted to the Senate President by several provincial election supervisors and city election officers. Thus, under our rules, we summoned the concerned provincial election supervisors and city election officers to explain the non-inclusion of the COCs in their submission to the Senate President and ask them to locate the COCs and bring them henceforth to Congress. I have in many times in public expressed my frustration for such failure during the proceedings of the Joint Committee. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, in this juncture, I would like to urge the Commission on Elections to take remedial steps to ensure that these glaring mistakes would not happen again, hopefully in 2028. For the record, the Joint Committee did not want to sacrifice the accuracy and the count, nor disenfranchise any province. I would like to say this, ladies and gentlemen. He never left his post throughout the proceedings, not even for lunch, not even for dinner, not even a bathroom break. He truly leads Congress by example, and I salute you, sir. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank the hardworking members of this joint committee, my colleagues from the Senate, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Franklin M. Drilon, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Ralph Recto, Senator Grace Poe, Senator Pia Cayetano, as presidential candidates in this historic May 9, 2022 national and local elections. The Joint Committee, Your Honors, canvassed a total of 171 COCs from provinces, highly urbanized cities, local absentee voting, overseas absentee voting, and found all of them to be authentic and duly executed. The results, Your Honor, of the canvass shows that Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. obtained the highest number of votes for the position of president, garnering a total of 31,629,783 votes. With a lead of 16,594,010 votes over the second placer. On the other hand, Madam Inday Sara Zimmerman Duterte obtained the highest number of votes for vice president with 32,208,417 votes, with a lead of 22,879,210 votes over her closest opponent. Allow me to add, Mr. President, matagal-tagal na rin po ako sa politika at maraming eleksyon na rin po ang aking napagdaanan, both local and national elections. At ngayon lang po ako nakakita nitong dalawang kandidato kapag nagmo-motorcade ay kilo-kilometro po ang taong nag-aabang sa kainitan ng araw at hindi alintana ang init. May mga rallies din po kami na kasaganan ay nag-uulan at nananatili po ang tao. Yan ang masasabi natin, umulan na tumaraw man ay kasama pa rin po natin ang ating mga kababayan. May mga kaugnayan po tayo na pamilya ang nag-aabang at nagdadala pang sariling baon para sa kanilang tanghalian. Mga galing sa kanayunan, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, talagang nakakamangha at ngayon pulang nasaksihan na ganyan na pagtanggap sa ating mga kababayan sa ating dalawang kandidato. In this election, truly, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, President-elect Bongbong Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte were truly rock stars. However, the greater task of the victors today is to unite our countrymen for nation building. That begins today. This weighs heavy on their shoulders. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Ecclesiastes 3 says, there is a time for everything. For everything there is a reason, and a time for every matter under heaven. Today, let me urge our kababayans, ating mga kababayan na nakikinig po na yun, that it is a time to heal from this divisive campaign. It is a time to respect the will of the majority of our electorate. And most importantly, it is a time to unite for the welfare and progress of our people and rally behind our flag and our country. Mr. President, with an overwhelming victory of our President-elect Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. and Vice President Inday Sara Duterte, I am convinced that the Filipino electorate heeded the clarion call to unite for progress and to get out of the suffering caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is a resounding affirmation of the Filipinos' desire to move forward and jumpstart our economy. And finally, today is a triumph of our democracy. Mabuhay ang ating demokrasya. Maraming salamat po.
The joint public session of Congress to canvass the votes for the duly elected President and Vice President in the elections of May 9, 2022 is honored and privileged to submit its report to the honorable members of the Senate and the House of Representatives in joint public session. Pursuant to the constitutional mandate of Congress and the instruction of the joint session of Congress, the Joint Committee convened on May 24, 2022 to canvass and tally the votes for the President and the Vice President. After just a day of canvassing, the task had been completed and we were set to proclaim the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. The proceedings of the 2022 joint public session has been the fastest canvassing of the presidential and vice president elections results in the country. Indeed, the healing of the country has begun, and we urge everyone to unite as a nation. Finally, credit is due to the more than 55 million Filipinos out of more than 66 million registered voters who, amidst the threat of the COVID-19, braved the long queues to exercise their right of suffrage, resulting in a record-breaking 83.11% voter turnout. Indeed, our democracy is alive and vibrant. The ever-growing political interest shown by our electorate is symbolic of the candidates for president and vice president, respectively. Senate Marcos Jr. received 31,629,783 votes, or a lead of more than 16,593,010 votes over his nearest rival. Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo. For the vice presidency, Mayor Sara Duterte received 32,208,417 votes and had a margin of over 22,879,210 votes over her closest rival, Senator Francis Nepomuceno Pangilinan. The 2022 election in order to move forward, but the majority has spoken. It is high time that we listen to their voice and uphold the outcome of our democratic process. Let us heal the wounds of the political division, brace ourselves for the challenges ahead, and move forward as a strong and united Philippines. Let us be prepared to work harder for the nation and give our full support to the new leadership. At the end of the day, we are all Filipinos, and we want nothing than to see our beloved nation chart its own course and ultimately triumph. On this note, I urge the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives in this joint public session to approve the report of the Joint Committee embodying the resolution.
Yes, Mr. President, we're now ready to proceed to vote for the adoption of the report and the accompanying resolution. On the part of the Senate, I move for the approval of the report of the Joint Committee and the adoption of the accompanying resolutions of both houses. Number one.
Distinguished members of the Senate, there is a motion by the Majority Leader to approve the report of the Joint Committee and to adopt the accompanying resolution.
Duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. It was in a blank. It was blank, Mr. President. I wanted to make sure that one was not ahead of the other. So I was worried about that blank.
I have it.
Thank you, Mr.
Is there
President.
any objection? The chair hears none. On the part of the Senate, I proclaim Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines. And Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
To the Majority Leader of the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives and pursuant to the adopted resolution of both houses, number one, I have the honor to move for the proclamation of Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines and Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. On the part of
Yan
the
na po.
House of Representatives, I proclaim
Ang pagbabalik
Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines and Sara Zimmerman Duterte Carpio as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
We shall now proceed to the approval of the journal of the joint public session, and for this purpose, the Senate Majority Leader is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On the part of the Senate, I move that the Honorable Senate President be authorized to approve the Journal of the Joint Public Session and that such approval shall be considered as the action of the Senate of the Philippines.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the House of Representatives, I move that the Honorable Speaker be authorized to approve the Journal of the Joint Public Session and such approval be considered as the action of the House of Representatives.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
The Senate Secretary is now directed to turn over the consolidation and canvassing system of the machine and return all the ballot boxes as well as all the pouches containing the certificates of canvass.
Ito po ay kuha mula sa PTV4. Ito po ay isang pagpapatunay na ang taong inapi ay siyang magtatagumpay. PTV4, Radyo ng Bayan. Salamat po. Bbm Sara. Bye-bye.